Which action does he most stand by? The Human Rights Commission's campaign, quote, "Give nothing to racism," or Creative New Zealand giving $107,000 to support somebody who says they want to, quote, "kill James Cook, his descendants and white men like him with a pig hunting knife because, quote, "they too might be thieves," end quote?
Mr Speaker, that's a message, that's a question for Creative New Zealand, who make those decisions independently of government.
Is he aware that the government appointed the Creative New Zealand board who decided to fund that production? And if he is, why shouldn't the government appoint board members committed to giving nothing to racism too?
Mr Speaker, I'm absolutely aware that the government appointed that board. It doesn't mean that every government endorses every decision that's taken in the name of art.
Can he assure the House that his government never discussed using fear to scare New Zealanders into complying with COVID-19 restrictions? And if so, would he be comfortable with a journalist having all the former COVID-19 ministers' internal communications, just like journalist Isabel Oakeshott has former British Health Secretary Matt Hancock's?
It was never discussed in any of the ministerial meetings that I was part of or in any of the conversations that I had around our COVID-19 response.
Will he then ask the former COVID-19 minister to publicly release all of his texts, WhatsApp messages, emails, memos and other internal communications about COVID-19 to ensure New Zealanders that they did not discuss using fear to get New Zealanders to comply with COVID-19 restrictions?
Mr Speaker, I can assure the member that the former Minister for COVID-19 response, like all government ministers, will comply with their obligations under the Official Information Act.
Is Chris Hipkins really a moral strong leader? It's utterly unbelievable that the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Chris Hipkins, even by the wildest most vivid imagination, could possibly consider killing white men with a pig-hunting knife. Is nothing more than art. Chris, have you ever heard of inciting violence or hate speech? But then, Chris Hipkins doesn't know what a woman is, and the views of people protecting women's and children's rights, like Posie Parker, Chris Hipkins thinks are abhorrent. And Chris Hipkins not only made incorrect statements, quite possibly to deliberately put fear into the general public, when he falsely put Northland into COVID lockdown. Is Chris Hipkins really the moral strong leader that New Zealand needs or wants?